Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of Eating on a Budget. Today, I'm making an ageless classic, S.O.S, or Hamburger Gravy, or more commonly known as shit on a shingle.
This is a variation of the original S.O.S that was made with dried chipped beef that was a staple to our troops and made famous during World War II. If you haven't had S.O.S made with hamburger or dried chipped beef, then you've certainly had another variation, sausage gravy. Regardless of how you make it, it's an inexpensive, hearty, stick-to-your-ribs classic.
And today I'm going to show you how to make it for $1.22 per serving.
Here's everything you'll need to make the S.O.S. 1.5 pounds of ground beef, a half a gallon of whole milk, which is important for the creaminess, a loaf of white bread, which is mandatory because back then everybody ate white bread, and an onion, which is optional, but to me, it makes the dish. You're also going to need a 1/4 cup of flour, which I did not include in the budget since it's usually found in most homes, and it would have broke my budget to buy a 2-pound bag for that small amount. If you don't have flour at home, I'm more than sure that a neighbor would be more than happy to trade you a 1/4 cup of flour for a plate of S.O.S. When you're trying to feed a family on a tight budget, bartering is a great way to save money. In a large skillet over medium-high heat, add the ground beef, break it apart, and brown it. For a full printable copy of this recipe and many more, visit thewolfpit.com. One thing I forgot to mention is you don't want to use really lean ground beef. You want something with fat. You need and want fat for 2 reasons: flavor, and you need fat to make the roux. I usually use 80-20 ground beef, but all they had was 78-22, which for this recipe is even better because it has more fat. Now obviously, if you have ground beef that's swimming in fat like this was, then drain most of the fat. But there didn't seem to be a lot of excess fat in this ground beef. It actually seemed kind of lean for 78-22. Now add the chopped up yellow onion and let everything cook for another 5 minutes. Once all the ground beef is brown and the onions have cooked down, add the flour. And if you did happen to barter your neighbor for the flour, it's right about now that the aroma is wafting underneath the neighbor's nose and they realize they're getting a delicious bargain for a 1/4 cup of flour. Now mix in all the flour until it's all absorbed and let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes to get the rawness out of the flour. And now I'm going to pour in the milk, and I will end up using the whole half gallon, but I'm only going to pour in about 3/4 right now. And as you can see, if I poured it all in right now, it would overflow the pan. And the reason I'm doing it like this is because the pan is not big enough to add it all at once. Once I've added 3/4 of the half gallon, I'm going to give it a mix, and then the flour is going to begin to absorb the milk and bring the level of the milk back down to where I can add the rest. And I really hope that makes sense because it made sense to me and it actually worked. Once you add the rest of the milk, I'm adding another optional ingredient, Worcestershire sauce. This was not in my budget, and the recipe will still work fine without it, but I like it in the dish. So if you have it in the house, great, use it. If you don't have it and you still want to use it, tell the neighbor that gave you the flour that you'll throw in another piece of toast for a little Worcestershire sauce. Now add a copious amount of black pepper and a little bit of salt. Give it a good mix until everything's well combined and bring it up to a light boil. Once it comes up to a boil, it should start to thicken. Reduce the heat to low and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. And now serve it over toast. Even though I personally prefer it over white bread, it was traditionally served over toast. And this is my plate, and even though it looked like I added a lot of pepper in the recipe, I still added more to my plate. And there you have it, S.O.S, hamburger gravy, or simply call it delicious.
Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you give this a try. Please don't forget to like this video and share it with your family and friends, and I'll see you soon.